Alright, this video is for those that want to break away and ditch the cloud. This is the first step into setting your own local services that you have control and privacy over. The first step is to go to Proxmox.com. From here, you can either click on Proxmox Virtual Environment, or you can go to Downloads, Proxmox Environment ISOs. And that way you know for sure you're getting the right ISO file. Because they also do have a backup server and a mail gateway. Doing it this way will guarantee you're getting the appropriate ISO file. So once the file finishes downloading, if you have a bootable Ventoy drive, all you need to do is drop it in like I'm about to show you. Now if you don't have a bootable Ventoy drive, you could always just use something like Rufus or Balena Etcher and just make a bootable drive just with that ISO. If you don't know how to do so, I will link to my previous video showing you how to do it. So regardless of whether you use Rufus or Ventoy, once you have your bootable USB drive up and running, what you're going to do is you're going to plug it in, restart your computer, and if you know the button to get into your BIOS, you're going to mash that button. If you don't pay attention to your BIOS screen, it'll usually tell you what button you need to press. If you don't, the usual suspects are delete, F5, F10, F12. If you're completely uncertain, you have no clue which button to press, look up your motherboard if you built your PC, or look up the model of your PC if it's a pre-built. Once you're there, you're going to boot from the USB drive. And once you do, you should see this screen right here, this Proxmox screen. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and pick where it says Install Proxmox VE Graphical. Keep it simple. Alright, you're going to be greeted with a EULA, you know the drill. Now this next bit is very important. Remember, wherever it is you plan on installing Proxmox, make sure that you have all the data on that drive backed up, because it is going to completely delete that drive and replace it with this operating system. I can't stress this enough. Just make sure wherever you're installing Proxmox, you have all that data already backed up, because once you go ahead and install this, there's no going back. Now this next bit is for your admin password. So make sure you use something very strong. Remember, Proxmox, more than likely you're going to have this thing connected to your intranet. The last thing you want is someone being able to gain access to your hypervisor and your services. Now that's for a later video. I'll go into other details in regards to how to secure and harden your network, but that's not for this video. Okay, so next up is the network config page. It should automatically pull the gateway and DNS server and then automatically assign an IP address to Proxmox. Now this Proxmox IP address, you could change it if you want. If you're not too tech savvy or anything like that, you could just leave it as is. But the important thing is to remember what this IP address is. Write it down, take a note of it, because we're gonna need to use that to connect to it later on after we finish the install. So once the install is done, as long as this computer that you installed Proxmox on is connected to your network, you no longer have to be on that PC. You can simply go back to your laptop or desktop and go to a web browser, and on the very top where you would normally put a website, you're going to put in the IP address that I told you to write down or jot down from earlier, colon, and the port 8006. Once you do that, there's going to be a window that's going to pop up. For the username, you're going to put root, and password is going to be the admin password that you put during the installation. Now don't sweat about the no valid subscription. That's only for businesses and enterprise. For personal use, you don't need a subscription. So normally when you first log in, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see the summary for the main Proxmox server. Alright, now I have a couple of VMs on the left. You normally aren't going to have those unless you set them up. Now my recommendation is you click on updates here. This should be the first thing you do on a fresh install. Make sure everything is up to date. Alright, you're going to click on upgrade, and then a window is going to pop up. It's not going to show up here. I didn't record it, but a window is going to pop up. You're going to put a capital Y and then press enter, and it's going to go ahead and continue updating. Once it's done updating, you can go ahead and you can close out of that window. It's going to ask you if you're sure you want to close out of the window. Yes, as long as the update is done and there's nothing else going on, you can close out of it just fine. And then just to be sure, you can go ahead and you can click refresh and see if anything else pops up. And if it says something along the errors for enterprise, don't worry. Again, we're not using a subscription, we're not a business, we're not using the enterprise version of this. You don't have to worry about that. Now, the next thing, if you wanted to go ahead and create a VM or virtual machine, you can click on the button over there on the right, or you can right click on the node or the server and click create VM. Now from here, you would go to OS, ISO image, and I already have an ISO image here, but I'm going to show you how to download one, because obviously on a fresh install, you're not going to have any ISOs. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to your local storage or any hard drives that you might have, and you're going to click on where it says download from URL. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go ahead and copy the URL for the ISO file. So for example, I'm going to go to Linux Mint, I'm going to go to download, alright, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on one of the servers here, and I'm going to copy that link and then paste it here. Now when you click URL, it's going to give it the file name. You can just go ahead and download. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and speed up through here. Okay, once that's done, you should see it there on your storage. So go ahead and click create VM again, go to ISO image, and it should show up there. Now, in general, you can usually just press next and keep things in the default. If something doesn't work, then you can start changing things around. But in general, usually the default will work just fine. There's very few instances where you're gonna need to change certain things, at least for the virtual machine side of things. For CPU, it's all dependent on what you're gonna be running. 2 to 4 cores, depending on the service or depending on the operating system, should be just fine. You have a lot of other options here as well. As I mentioned, just for now, just go with the default, just to kind of get things running so you can get your feet wet and get familiar with the hypervisor. And then once it's done, you should see this. And just like in a normal USB drive with a Linux ISO, it's going to send you to the live environment. In other words, it's running off of the air quotes USB. I hope I was able to make it very clear how to install Proxmox. Now I know I didn't show much beyond just creating a VM and leaving the defaults on. I'll leave that for another video. Keep an eye out. Plan on making several videos on how to do multiple things like set up containers or set up Docker, set up Home Assistant, those kinds of things. But you need this first if you want to set up a multitude of services. As I said, keep an eye out for those follow-up videos and for more Memow. Have a good one.